It's been a crazy past few months for the oldest Anarchy server in Minecraft. After over 6 years of waiting, 2b2t finally updated to the modern versions of Minecraft, going from Java 1.12 all the way to 1.19, an insane amount of in-game content to receive at once. But the initial introduction of this update almost killed the server entirely. A huge list of controversial changes that had never been seen before caused outrage in the community. These included deleting items that were over a decade old, resetting of old chunks, and even more. Basically, it was no longer the 2b2t that we all knew. But after 10 days of chaos and turmoil, the server's admin Housemaster did an unprecedented rollback and reintroduced the update without all of the controversial changes. I've played 2b2t for over a decade and I'd never seen anything like this happen before. So I can safely say that as of right now, yes, 2b2t is still the oldest Anarchy server in Minecraft, but we were dangerously close to losing all of it. So today, we're covering everything. The entire timeline of this ordeal from start to finish, conspiracies that some players came up with as to why these changes were made, and how the server was eventually saved. Plus, I'll give my honest opinion on the whole ordeal, and I'll also explain why I took so many months to finally talk about this update. Now, I'm sure some of you are ready to play the update right now. If you're waiting in the queue to join, you should check out Disney's Speedstorm. Set on high-speed circuits inspired by Disney and Pixar worlds, it's a fast, fun, and competitive hero-based racing game. You can compete in different game modes as some of your favorite Disney and Pixar characters. Each track in the game is unique and filled with jumps, shortcuts, fun hazards, and other obstacles to overcome. There's a variety of game modes in both single and multiplayer, ranging from classic races, last one standing, boss challenges, and you can even do split-screen multiplayer with friends. The game is filled with tons of customization items and materials, so you can choose whatever fits your playstyle. Season 5 is inspired by Disney's animated film Frozen and includes a new track, 5 new racers, and new limited-time events. The game is free to play and is available on both PC and consoles right now. It's the perfect time to start playing. To get the game for yourself, click the link in the description, and thanks again to Disney Speedstorm for sponsoring today's video. So this all started in early August. It was announced that after years of testing, 2b2t was finally ready to move from Minecraft 1.12 to 1.19. From a technical standpoint, this was once thought to be impossible given the age of 2b2t's map, but through years of hard work, testing, and development, it was finally a reality. This massive jump in versions had the community excited. We were finally getting the features that had already been in the game for so long. Some had given up hope that the server would ever update, so this was considered a big deal. Players started logging in to make preparations, and there was a lot of excitement in the air. I was ready to hop on as soon as the update was available. Well, all of that would change very quickly. On August 14th, 2023, the update finally happened, with the server's admin Housemaster making the announcement publicly. The community's excitement and enthusiasm vanished instantly. He had implemented massive changes that took everyone by surprise. The first of these were item deletions, officially called a soft item economy reset. Because of the large amount of duplication exploits over the years, players were able to obtain more items than a single person could use in a lifetime of vanilla Minecraft. It's kind of expected on an Anarchy server. But according to House, these duplicated items were responsible for the majority of the server's past problems. And so stacks of items such as end crystals, enchanted apples, and totems were removed from player inventories and stashes. For example, this meant that the stacks of golden apples that I had farmed legitimately 10 years ago were now gone. On top of this, the actual list of removed items was greater than what House had initially announced. Notably, a lot of redstone materials that had previously been used in large-scale lag machines. This item reset would force players to go out and obtain new materials. But since it's an Anarchy server, that shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, next comes anti-X-ray and stricter anti-cheat. That's right, you cannot hack on the Anarchy Minecraft server. The update would contain a plugin that would prevent ores from rendering properly outside a player's actual point of view. The reason given was to slow down and reduce newer ores from being gathered too fast with cheats. This was a problem not only for players, but for server historians as well. If you wanted to take world downloads of areas for preservation purposes, they were no longer accurate beneath the surface. The next unpopular change was the trimming of old chunks. According to House, the size of the map had reached 23 terabytes in size, which for a Minecraft world is absolutely absurd. A big part of this was due to players creating massive chunk trails due to flying and movement exploits. These could go on for hundreds of thousands of blocks, sometimes millions, so to decrease the amount of storage space needed, some old chunks would be reset entirely. The criteria for deletion was in which there is no possibility of having been modified by a player or realistically interacted with for a long enough time. One of the major appeals of 2b2t is the original map from 2010 and how almost none of it has ever been reset. Explorers would often follow chunk trails to find old bases and stashes. Removing old chunks meant removing history, so this change also caused an uproar. There were even reports that chunks surrounding active bases had been reset despite being altered significantly by players, so it clearly wasn't working as intended. Now, the rest of the changes were actually really good, such as having phantoms disabled, map arts no longer being reset, increased mob spawning, and many other quality of life changes, which made it all the more tragic that these three changes were so catastrophically bad that it didn't matter. No matter your playstyle, nearly every player in the community was affected. In the eyes of many, despite this massive technical achievement and outstanding server performance, 2b2t was dead, and the outcry reflected that. Many in the community messaged House about how they had lost a lot of their progress over the years, and many others were upset that such drastic changes had been implemented without consulting the community. Some 2b2t content creators such as Sal said they were done with the server entirely, and many began to boycott the priority queue system by requesting refunds. When I saw the changes, I was not happy. I have a very nomadic playstyle on the server, so I don't have a permanent base anymore. I move from place to place, and I keep all of my supplies in ender chests and shulkers. The update removed large amounts of the gear that I had obtained over my decade of playing, so it killed almost all of my motivation to try the update. Around the time, I was also really busy because me and the largest Spanish-speaking 2b2t YouTuber were given an egg to raise together. It's kind of a long story, but my Twitch viewers know all about it. But back to 2b2t, some began to speculate as to why these unpopular changes had been made in the first place. One theory was that the item reset was to help combat the sale of in-game items for real-world money. Over the years, a lot of shady things have happened in this part of the community. Some I've covered here on YouTube, and some I haven't. So the theory that House was trying to get rid of them was a popular one. Another conspiracy theory was that these changes were an attempt to bring 2b2t more in line with Mojang's recent guidelines about what is considered acceptable conduct for Minecraft servers. But during the whole update ordeal, I did manage to have email communication with House and was able to confirm that these changes had nothing to do with Mojang. After a week had passed, though, it was clear that the update was a disaster. While a small portion of the player base was happy, the majority were not, and the player numbers reflected that. Eventually, Housemaster reached out to the community for feedback and actually listened to the player base. It was clear that the only way forward was to do a rollback and redo the update without the controversial changes. But this was a big risk because at the time, 10 days had already passed and a rollback that large had never happened in the server's history. House knew that the players that had spent 10 days grinding would be upset, but considering the established community and paying customers were leaving, it had to be done. On the 26th of August, 2023, the rollback was introduced, and the update was re-implemented without the unpopular changes. The player base rejoiced, began returning in droves, and the update was considered a massive success. 2B2T was saved. But now it's been almost 4 months since the rollback, and you've probably been wondering why it took me so long to finally talk about this update. Well, like many others in the community, the initial update broke a lot of trust that I had in how 2B2T is run and handled, but seeing it thrive now and seeing House actually go back on the original changes has rebuilt that trust, and I finally feel ready to return. So what's next? While I've messed around on the server on some alt accounts, I actually haven't logged into my main to experience the update yet. There's also a few other big stories I've been planning to cover, but I wanted to wait for all the dust to settle before doing so, and I have a lot to accomplish. Now that everything here is said and done, there's only one thing left for me to do.